You know what burns Earl's biscuits worse than cold coffee on a January morning? Standing in a grocery store at 7:30 in the morning, holding a bunch of bananas while a machine keeps yelling unexpected item in bagging area like Earl just wandered in there to rob the place with potassium. Grocery stores used to be simple. You grabbed a cart that didn't sound like a shopping cart full of loose fishing hooks. You walked the aisles, somebody named Doris rang up your groceries, and you went home. That was it. Civilization survived just fine. Now Earl walks into one of these modern grocery stores and feels like he accidentally entered a laboratory where tomatoes cost $6 and nobody under 30 knows where the bread aisle is. Last Tuesday started innocent enough. Earl just needed milk, bread, coffee filters, and one of those little lemon pies Ethel likes after supper. Simple list. 4 items. 5. If Earl counted the beef jerky he planned on sneaking into the cart before Ethel noticed, he even wrote the list on actual paper because Earl still doesn't trust putting grocery lists on a phone. Phones are for calling people and accidentally taking blurry pictures of your forehead. That's enough responsibility already. Earl shuffled into the store around sunrise with his old brown jacket zipped halfway up and his knees making sounds like somebody stepping on bubble wrap. The automatic doors whooshed open dramatic as a spaceship movie. Right away he noticed something felt wrong. Too quiet. No cashiers talking, no scanners beeping, no old fella arguing about expired coupons from 1998. Just fluorescent lights humming overhead and some teenager restocking avocados while wearing headphones the size of satellite dishes. Then Earl saw it. Every checkout lane closed except self-checkout. Now, Earl already hated self-checkout on principle. Stores want customers to do the cashier's job while prices somehow keep climbing like squirrels up a bird feeder. Earl doesn't go to the dentist and start cleaning his own teeth. He doesn't go to a mechanic and rotate his own tires in the parking lot. Yet somehow grocery stores decided everybody should become an unpaid employee just because computers learned how to yell at old people. Earl stood there blinking for a second, holding his cart handle like a man considering a dangerous river crossing. That's when Ethel's voice floated into his memory from earlier that morning. "Please don't start a scene today," she had said while pouring coffee. "I never start scenes," Earl told her. Ethel snorted so hard coffee nearly came out her nose. "Earl, you argued with a thermostat for 20 minutes last week. That thermostat had attitude." "Well, don't fight the groceries," Earl promised. Sort of. He rolled toward self-checkout, slow and suspicious. 8 machines stood there, glowing like slot machines at a casino for exhausted parents. One young employee watched over everything with the 1,000-yard stare of somebody who had already answered, "Where do I scan bananas at least 400 times that day?" Earl picked a machine near the end because it looked less judgmental. He pulled out the milk first. Scan. Beep. Fine. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. Then came the bread. Scan. Beep. Also acceptable. Earl started feeling a little cocky. Dangerous mistake. The coffee filters ruined everything. He scanned the box twice by accident, and suddenly the screen flashed red like Earl had committed federal fraud against breakfast. Remove unexpected item from bagging area. Earl stared at the machine. The machine stared back with cold electronic hatred. "There ain't no unexpected item," Earl muttered. "You watched me scan it." The machine repeated itself louder somehow. "Remove unexpected item from bagging area." Earl looked around hoping for help. The young employee was helping another customer who appeared emotionally defeated by cucumbers. Earl poked the screen. Nothing. He picked up the coffee filters. The machine screamed again. He put them back. More screaming. Now, 20 years ago, this situation never happened because a cashier named Linda would have fixed it in 3 seconds while asking how Ethel's arthritis was doing. People used to know each other. Grocery stores smelled like coffee and oranges instead of floor cleaner and despair. Kids bagged groceries after school, and old ladies handed out tiny sausage samples with toothpicks. Nobody needed passwords to buy cabbage. Earl finally waved at the employee. The kid walked over wearing a name tag that said Braden, but looked spiritually exhausted enough to be named Walter. "What seems to be the issue?" Braden asked. "This machine thinks Earl's plotting against coffee filters." Braden tapped 3 buttons, fixed instantly. "That's all?" Earl asked. "Yep." "Well, why didn't it just do that itself?" Braden blinked twice. "Because then I wouldn't have a job." Fair point. Earl hated when teenagers accidentally made sense. Things got worse near the produce section. Earl grabbed bananas because Ethel liked slicing them over cereal. Simple fruit, been around forever. But now bananas required codes. Codes. Earl punched random numbers while the machine beeped angrily like a smoke detector with personal resentment. Braden returned. "You gotta weigh them first." "They're bananas, not diamonds." Braden showed him the scale. Back in Earl's day, produce didn't need technology. "You picked apples. Somebody weighed apples." Humanity moved forward together. Nobody stood alone under fluorescent lighting trying to remember whether bananas were code 4011 or the launch sequence for a submarine. By this point, Earl could feel himself overheating, not physically, spiritually. He could practically hear his blood pressure filing complaints with management. Then came the lemon pie disaster. Earl scanned the pie carefully. Too carefully, maybe. The plastic container slipped from his hands, bounced once, and exploded upside down across the bagging area like a sugary landmine. Bright yellow filling spread everywhere. One little old lady gasped. Somewhere a child laughed. Earl froze, holding half a pie crust like evidence from a crime scene. Braden hurried back over. "You okay, sir?" "No," Earl admitted. Earl's reached his limit with modern civilization. The kid actually smiled. First genuine smile Earl saw all morning. "It's all right. Happens all the time." That sentence right there is the problem. Nothing should happen all the time at a grocery store except buying groceries. Braden helped clean the mess while Earl stood there, embarrassed enough to wish automatic doors would swallow him whole. Self-checkout had defeated him completely. By a pie, not a bear, not a tornado, pie. That's when Earl remembered shopping with his mother back in 1968. Little neighborhood market. Wooden floors creaking under every cartwheel. Mr. Peterson at the register wearing a white apron stained with coffee. He knew everybody's name, knew who liked crunchy peanut butter and who needed soup delivered during winter storms. Earl's mother would talk 15 minutes while groceries got bagged in brown paper sacks, sturdy enough to carry firewood afterward. Stores felt human back then. Slow sometimes, sure, but human. Modern grocery stores move faster than ever, yet somehow feel lonelier. Everybody staring at screens, everybody rushing, nobody talking unless a machine starts yelling about avocados. Braden handed Earl another lemon pie from the cooler. "No charge," he said quietly. Earl looked surprised. "You don't gotta do that." "I know, but you remind me of my grandpa." Now that hit Earl right in the soft spot he pretends doesn't exist. Funny thing about getting older, the world gets stranger every year, but little moments still sneak up and remind you people haven't changed completely. Some still care, even kids with hairstyles that look like frightened parrots. Earl paid for the groceries eventually. Braden handled the scanning himself after the pie incident because both of them knew society had suffered enough already. When Earl got home, Ethel looked up from the kitchen table. "How bad was it?" Earl set the groceries down carefully. "There was an incident. With you or the store?" "Yes?" Ethel laughed before Earl even finished explaining. By the time he got to the exploding pie, she was wiping tears from her eyes. "You know," she said, "you could just ask for help sooner." "And rob myself of character development?" "Well, next time maybe buy a helmet too." Earl grumbled, but smiled anyway because after 52 years of marriage, that woman could turn embarrassment into comedy faster than anybody alive. Later that evening, Earl sat on the porch holding coffee in that chipped mug from 1987 he refuses to replace because the handle fits his hand perfectly. Sunset painted the trees orange. Ethel sat beside him, eating the replacement lemon pie. The world stayed noisy. Grocery stores stayed ridiculous. Somewhere, a machine was probably yelling at another poor soul about bagging areas. But the porch felt quiet, familiar, human. Maybe that's what Earl misses most. Not cheaper groceries or paper coupons or those little pencil sharpeners they used to bolt beside shopping lists. Earl misses when errands didn't feel like surviving an obstacle course designed by accountants. He misses conversations, cashiers who remembered names, the little pause in the day where somebody looked you in the eye instead of at a screen. Still, Earl figures every generation says the world changed too much. His father complained about television ruining conversation. Earl complains about self-checkout ruining grocery stores. Someday, Braden will probably complain about robot drones delivering soup directly into people's windows. And honestly, Earl hopes somebody listens to him too. So tell Earl something down in the comments. What's the modern thing that drives you absolutely nuts? Self-checkout? QR code menus? Cars that beep every 7 seconds like nervous babysitters? Earl wants to hear all about it. And if you ever dropped a pie in public, Earl would appreciate knowing he's not fighting this battle alone.